Hi, AgeTHRIVE back for another video all about AgeTHRIVE, which is focused on aging well and owning our aging in positive, empowering, and meaningful ways. Once again, I had a topic all planned for today, and then I changed my mind this morning. Yeah, I guess that's just kind of my mode of operation a lot of weeks, is to go with the flow, and it's not a bad way to live. But with all the stuff in the news, and you're going to figure out pretty quickly what I am referencing when I start this video today, I couldn't help but talk about this topic today. One of our greatest enemies for aging well is this one thing: denial. Digging our head in the sand and pretending that we aren't aging and that changes aren't happening to us. Well, the worst things possible. That's why I always come with something focused around actions that we can take in positive, empowering, and meaningful ways. It's also when I created my model for Thriving with Age, changeability was one of the central tenets to this model. Our ability to keep changing and flexing with our aging experiences and with change over time as we go out through our lifetime. Why changeability? I'm going to go back to what I talked about in videos early on and starting this series, is because change is one of the most powerful laws of nature. Even more so as we grow older. When we're young, change comes fast and furious. If you think back to the first 25 years of your life, maybe even longer, lots and lots of change rolling in through those years. Same thing happens as we grow older. We can see a lot of change happen in the last 25 years of our lives, because it's speeding up, and it's not just changes within us and it's the people around us and our lifestyles, everything. The change just speeds up to a point that we need to be tuned in and stay very change flexible and change ready and change friendly as we go out through the later life experience. There's several ways we can come at change. There's three key changes or change processes, ways that it can hit us. One is the drastic change, where change just comes in and hits us like a lightning bolt. And when I refer to right sizing, it's having to make a really big, major change overnight because of changes in our circumstances, abilities, our health, our cognitive abilities, etc. And change can also hit us this way in other ways, like Saturday I'm walking my dog, picking up trash along the way, and I'm going off the sidewalk onto the street to pick up trash back on the sidewalk. Well, one of the times I hit that curb and I tripped and I fell and I hit the ground very hard. Ended up spraining my wrist, beating up my body, especially my knees and my legs. I felt like a kid, again with my scraped knees. But that's a drastic change. And why that's not the way we want to approach aging is that there's no time to plan and prepare for that. It just happens. And then we have to react and we have to deal with what's happened, just like my herniated disc last fall that just came from out of the blue. There are changes like that can come in so fast, and we can't control those things happening to us. But we can stay change ready so that we're better able to respond when those things come into our lives. One of the easiest ways to make change, as I've been preaching for many, many years, is gradual change, where we just slowly make changes over time, like I did with my lifestyle. I talked about that last week, that really my lifestyle started changing back when I was 40 years old. And I started gradually shifting the amount of space I was living in, how much stuff I have, kind of the way I was approaching my lifestyle just gradually changed. And that made it very easy to make those changes for me. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in coming weeks when I talk more about right sizing. The way that gradual change can be our foe is like the story of the frog in the boiling water. And you probably have heard this story by now, where if you put a frog in tepid water on the stove and he's swimming around and you kind of gradually turn up the heat, you can boil the frog and he's probably not even going to be fully aware of what's happening to him. If you put a frog in boiling water, he'll jump out very quickly. Well, that's the way a lot of change happens to us as we age. It's very gradual and subtle that sometimes we can miss it, to the point where we end up in a bad situation because we haven't been tuned in. we haven't been fully aware of what's happening to us or around us with our changes. So that's something we want to stay tuned in by learning to be fully self-aware, to really asking questions of ourselves. There's an assessment tool I created. I'll talk about it a little more another week. To just ask yourself certain questions every year, to really stay tuned into your circumstances, your health, your abilities, so that you can sense and adjust in real time versus waiting for that crisis, that lightning bolt to hit, which we don't want to do. So change can come in fast, change can come in gradually. The other way we can approach change is to be proactive about it. And this is the way that I have been teaching people, motivating people, inspiring people to do for several decades now, is to choose change before change chooses you. Meaning being in tune with the seasons of life and staying really in sync with that and not out of sync or in denial, big denial about what's happening. I also told you last week that in 1998, coming out of that midlife experience, I created an aging service business. Well, the business that I created then was called Living Transitions, and it was created to help people make later life downsizing moves with all the hands-on help and the planning help that people needed to get through this experience. And the reason this even came into my imagination was that my proactive dad, and he's one of the most proactive people I think I've still ever met to this date, he saw the handwriting on the wall when mom and dad were in their 70s. They were living in a small rural community in Nebraska, that wasn't a great place to grow old. So they moved to a larger community where they both had wonderfully meet new friends, have new experiences, things that they hadn't had that option for living in that small town. But also offered them a lot more support services and support options for them as they went through the last big phase of their life before their death. And I'm telling you, it makes such a huge difference. So that I started doing this for helping people do life planning with the idea of planning ahead, being proactive, moving forward in some way to benefit their lives so they could keep living fully. And I ended up meeting such great clients, proactive people who were wonderful role models for me as I went through the aging experience, as I'm going through the aging experience now. So let's not be in denial. Let's not pretend aging isn't happening to us. Let's be fully tuned in. And if we can't be fully tuned in enough, let's create a support team around us that can help us see things that maybe we're not fully aware of. There are people obviously that have true cognitive losses like Alzheimer's, other forms of dementia, where they're not aware of what's happening to them. But there's also a lot of people that just dig in, they pretend it's not happening, and they're in that state of denial. We don't want to be there. Let's not go there. I'll be back and talk about more another week. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to do these every week, every 2 weeks, but I'll definitely keep going, talking about the compass changes, the focus areas that really can count for us and make a difference to our aging well experience. So let's keep living fully. Let's keep moving forward. Let's keep thriving with age. I'll see you next week. Bye.